Hello everyone, welcome back to another 48-hour mini Star Hop readathon. We are back to the OG game of TBR mini Star Hop, and I am really excited to jump back into this. I know I say this every time, but this game just feels really cozy to me. It's like a comfort thing to come back and do a 48-hour readathon using this game like I usually do, so I'm really looking forward to it. I don't have as complex of a TBR as I have in some months, but I do have a lot of really long books on my TBR. I think there's only one book that's less than 700, 800 pages, and so it's going to be difficult to fit too many books for my actual monthly TBR on here, but I'm hoping to get at least one of the thick books on there and then the shorter book on there, Dawnshard, and probably one of the Fits in the Fool books. So that's kind of my goal for this readathon. I also have my Patreon buddy read of the Coven, and I want to read The Sunlit Man before Rhythm of War, so those ones can also be slid on as well as some options. So hopefully I'm able to get some books that I want to on here. Hopefully the game's nice enough to me that I can do that. But we shall see. I think I'm gonna have a good time either way. I usually do with this game. It's just a lot of fun for me. So yeah, let's jump into the first roll. Here we go with the first roll of the readathon. Obviously we don't want a 6. But I feel like every time I want big numbers to start out with that aren't a 6, so I don't even need to say it anymore. Here we go. Oh, I am nervous for some reason. I don't know why, but I am. It's fine. 3. Okay. It's not a big number, but it's a safe number, so we will take it, and let's see what star prompt we get. Okay, for the first spin, we got a star, which I like. I mean, we only moved 3 places, but star prompts tend to be easier, and we didn't land on the sun, and we didn't have to go back to the beginning with the black hole. So I'm gonna take it. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Okay, let's see what we get. Buddy read. Okay, I am not mad about this one. I will go grab options and be back. Okay, so I have my options. I only have 2 buddy reads for the month of November. Well, I technically have 3, but one of them we can't put on there yet because it needs to come after one of the other buddy reads. That's Dawnshard by Brandon Sanderson. This is the novella within his Stormlight Archive series that takes place after Oathbringer but before Rhythm of War. So this is one that I could potentially read. I absolutely love this series. This is going to be a reread for me, so it would be relatively fast, easy to get through. So this is a good option. And I also have The Coven by Harper L. Woods. This one is my Patreon buddy read for the month of November. This one was also one of the books that my sister sent to me in our monthly book exchange that we've been doing. And I'm excited for it. I think this one would be a really fun one to put onto this readathon just because it seems like it would be really easy to get through. It wouldn't take a whole ton of brain power, but it would be really fun. So this one is my other buddy read. That's an option. So these are my 2 choices. Honestly, I think either of them would be really good picks because they're both shorter, reasonable length to read for the readathon. I think I'm gonna go with The Coven though. I don't know, it just seems like this is one that I'm really looking forward to reading. Maybe it's because I haven't read it before and so it's gonna be new and it might pull me in, keep me intrigued. I mean, I love Dawnshard, but I don't know, I think this is it. I think this is the one I'm gonna go with, and I think this will be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this book and hoping that I enjoy it, but yeah. This is going to be our first book of the readathon. Okay, it is now about 10:30. It's about half an hour past when I anticipated I would finish this book, but I have officially finished The Coven by Harper L. Woods, and I enjoyed this book. So I liked the beginning. I was really intrigued. I was drawn in. I feel like the middle kind of lost me a little bit because our main character, I feel like, was just kind of not sticking with the point. And then the ending, the last little bit of this book was so good. I was very invested. It took me by surprise. The twists, it was exciting. I had a great time with it. So overall, this was a win. I think that I would have liked a little bit more character development on these characters, honestly. I know that we get a decent amount, but I just kind of felt like I wasn't emotionally invested in these characters that much, which I'm hoping maybe we'll get more in the second book. I would like more of the world, honestly, the world and the magic, but again, it is a very short book, and I feel like a lot of times these fantasy romances don't develop the worlds very well, so that really wasn't that surprising to me. I think that ultimately it was the plot and the banter and then the twists that really carried this book and made it a fun time. And I will say, take the warning at the beginning of this book seriously. It's not given lightly. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be reading this book. And overall, though, I thought it was a lot of fun. There are some things in there that I just kind of felt were not really explained, and I didn't understand how they worked. Also, I know I mentioned this with my Patreons and in my Patreon vlog, because this is our buddy read, that I was listening to it via audiobook and reading along, and there were a lot of differences between the audiobook and the physical book for this. There were actually entire chapters and big chunks, pages that were not in the audiobook that were in this one. So I'd have to pause the audiobook and then read it and then start the audiobook back up. And there'd be a paragraph here or there that was in here that was not in the audiobook. And it was just definitely hard to keep on and follow it within the story and just kind of let myself get lost in the story because I was getting pulled out by trying to keep track of where I was in the book. So that probably did affect my enjoyment somewhat, and I really don't understand how it was that significantly different. My theory at this point is that the audiobook is from when it was self-published and this is the traditionally published one, but I could be wrong. I'm really not positive, but that definitely did affect it a little bit. So just warning to anyone, if you are listening to the audiobook that's on Everand, it's different. There's stuff in here that's not on there. But first book down, I'm looking over at our board and I'm really hoping we don't hit the black hole. I mean, I'm not super terribly worried about it. I'm sure I could make it work, but I want to fit some chunky books on here. So fingers crossed we get past it. Okay, here we go. We are going to roll the second roll of the game. Clearly we don't want a 3, but we shall see. A 6? A 6? Are you kidding me? Oh, but it's a sun. Oh, I don't know if that was good or not. That actually might be really bad. It's fine. It could give us a free pick. We could get a good one. Let's see what our prompt is before we panic. Okay, so I am going to be spinning the sun wheel, and this one I feel like gives us a book over 500 pages almost every time. But I have made some changes to it from the last time. I took out friend pick and put on saving for last, which would be the book that I have in my mind that I'm saving for the final spot on the game. I always have one of those. I feel like y'all know that. And then I also changed out the spinner wheel prompt because it didn't really make sense for spinner from TBR. So whatever book I picked from the spinner wheel on my TBR is the book that I will read. So those are the new ones. I'm a little worried it's going to give us book over 500 pages. I feel like it always does. It's lined up for that or something. Anyway, let's see what we get. Make sure I have some volume turned up on here. Whew. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous, but let's do it. Okay, one of the new prompts has come up. So technically the one that I picked for my spinner wheel is a sequel to a book I have not read yet. So I can't technically do this one. Wow, the first time it comes up, I can't do it. That might happen. I might have to keep that in mind. I'm just gonna spin again at this point because I really don't know what I would do in this situation. So I'm just gonna spin again and we're gonna see what we get. This might come back and bite me if I get a book over 500 pages. It's the same one. It's Spinner from TBR again. It's really wanting me to do this one. You know what? We're spinning again. Oh no! It was so close. Like this close to being a free pick. It is barely over the line. I got both my new prompts. That's crazy. The ads. Okay, I'm gonna go grab the book that I chose, that I was going to choose as my final pick. I think y'all know what it is. I think you know which one I was saving. Dang it. I like that prompt. I actually like that prompt because it's really mean. Because we could still go back to the beginning and I'm going to be putting on a thick book that I was saving for the end. I mean, I could lie about the book I was saving for the end, but you would know. You all know what book I was saving. I'm just gonna go get it. Here we are. It is Fool's Quest. This is the second book in the Fits and the Fool series. I actually finished off the last readathon that I did with the first book in the Fits and the Fool series. So here we are. This is the one I was saving for last for a good reason, because it is really, really thick. This book is well over 700 pages. It's over 750 pages. So we're actually closer to 800 than 700 in this book. It's fine. I don't know why I'm panicking a little bit right now. You know why? I think it's because there's still a black hole in front of us and we are putting on this book. And these books are not fast reads. I love them. I am so invested in them. I love reading these books so much. They are one of my favorite books to read. Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings just absolutely have me in a chokehold. But they are not fast reads. They take a while to get through. They're very emotional, and here we go. This is the second book that's going on for this readathon. Wow, I thought the game was being so nice by giving me a 6. I was like, it's nice again. What's happening? This is crazy. No, it was saving up. If we hit that black hole now, it's going to be tomorrow night before I finish this book. Oh man. We'll just see how this goes. Okay, it is now a little bit past 3 in the afternoon, which is fine. I have finished Fool's Quest by Robin Hobb. I feel like this is a reasonable time to have finished it because I did get some sleep last night. I mean, I know that we still have a black hole in front of us, but I decided that I probably should get a little bit of rest. I can stay up all night tonight if I need to in order to finish and win the game. Fingers crossed we don't hit the black hole, so that's not a problem, but we shall see. But I finished Fool's Quest. This is the second book in the Fits and the Fool trilogy, which is the final series within Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings, and I loved it. Like, I didn't expect to not love this book, and I was correct. My expectations were correct. I absolutely love this book. Honestly, her character work is absolutely amazing. I will say, though, that the plot in these is so slow. We spend so much time just hanging out with our characters, living their lives with them, spending time in just them trying to maneuver everything that's going on within their world and within their own emotions and their own relationships and everything right in their lives. And I love it. But I was realizing, I was about like halfway through or something, I'm like, nothing has really happened so far in the plot of this book. The main thing that happened in the plot was that we found out what happened at the end of the last book. It's kind of crazy, the lack of plot in these books, and yet how invested I am and how much I love reading them and how much I do not want to put it down. There were times when I was doing sprints with my patrons and I just didn't want to stop reading. I absolutely loved this book. There were some really intense parts. I cried. I was crying so much I'm gonna have to like put little things under my eyes because they're like so dry from wiping tears away, but I love this book so much. I cannot wait to finish out this series. I'm kind of hoping I'm not going to finish it out on this readathon though, because that would be absolutely exhausting. These are long books. And I mean, if I got to the end on this one, sure, maybe. But if I don't, there is just no way that I could manage it. It wouldn't be feasible. So Here, this one is down. This is only the second book of the readathon. It kind of feels like I have not gotten that much reading done, but that's a long book and it's a slow read. So I'm still pretty proud of myself, but let's go ahead and jump into the next roll and fingers crossed we don't hit the black hole. Okay, so obviously we don't want a 2, obviously. Technically, we could get to the end on this next roll. If we did, that would be crazy. I don't think I really care either way. I just don't want to get a 2. I honestly want anything bigger than a 2, and I'll be happy with it. A 5. Woo woo. This is perfect. This is absolutely amazing. Look at us. And we know that the next roll is going to end the game for us. This is just what I needed. Ooh, I'm so happy. Okay, once again, the game has been very nice to us. It started off a little bit rough, and honestly, that last roll was a big number, but kind of a mean prompt. So I think this is good, and we know that the next one is going to be our final rolls. We're going to be at the end, so we know that it's just this book and one more, which is kind of perfect. I feel like 4 books in 48 hours, especially if some of them are really long, is pretty good. But we are on a moon, so we're gonna spin the moon prompt wheel. I mean, honestly, I don't really want graphic novel just because now that we're this close to the end, I would like to have like full-length books. But other than that, I feel like I'm not super fussed about what we get. And even if we got graphic novel, I'm okay with that too. Monthly TBR. You know, we only have 2 books left on that, so this should not be too hard. I will bring them to you. Okay, I mean, I technically have 3 books left on my TBR, but one of them I can't read yet because it needs to come after I read a different book. So here are the 2 options that I have. I have Dawnshard by Brandon Sanderson, which is the novella that comes between Oathbringer and Rhythm of War. This one, it would be an easy read. I think I would enjoy it. So this would be a nice pick. And then I also, of course, have Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb, which is the 3rd and final book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. And this is a long one. This is chunky. And obviously, if I chose this one, then I would be choosing a much, much shorter book for my final book. So this one would definitely be a challenge. So these are the 2 that I have right now that are my possibilities going into the end of the readathon. I mean, do I challenge myself now and then anticipate that I'm going to put a shorter book on? Or do I put a shorter book on, see how it goes, see how much time I have and how motivated I am? I think that's probably a better call. And I do like leaving the harder books for the end when I kind of know more about where I'm going to be and how I'm going to feel at that point. So I think I'm going to put on Dawnshard. That is going to be the next book that's added on to this readathon. And it should be a pretty quick read. I mean, these are novellas, but they're decently long novellas. I think the audiobooks for them are like 8 hours or something like that. I could be wrong, but this is still the length of a contemporary romance book-ish. So it's not like it's super, super short novella, but it is a reasonable book. So hopefully I'll be able to finish it during my sprints with my Patreons, do my last roll, choose my final book, and kind of be settled into the last book of the readathon with a decent amount of time. So I have a lot of options for choosing. I like having that at the end of the readathons, but honestly, I feel like the game has just been pretty nice to me for the last couple of readathons, and I like it, but it unnerves me a little bit. I'm thinking something mean is coming. It has to be, right? I say this every time, but it has to be coming, or maybe it's taking out all the meanness on my monthly game. It could be that. Okay, so it is actually now a little bit past midnight, but I actually finished this book probably around 9 to 10 p.m. But yeah, I have finished Dawnshard. This was a reread for me, so I already knew what to expect. I've already read this before. I knew that I loved it. I feel like these novellas really get us kind of diving into some of our side characters a little bit more. We get to learn more about them and get to know their personalities and their journeys more, but we also get a lot of information about the world in these books, and really interesting things are brought up and kind of dive into these things that were just more tangentially mentioned in some of the other books. So I really enjoy them. I think he does a really great job with them. Brandon Sanderson is good at writing shorter stories and keeping them very engaging, but not feeling too rushed or like you're trying to get too much done in too short of a time. I really love his novellas. I had a really great time with this, and we are now moving on to the final roll, which we know what it's going to be, but we got to do it anyway. So let's jump into the next roll. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what we roll here. We're going to be at the end anyway, and we only roll a 1. Wow. Whew, this is the best time to have rolled a 1 though, so not mad about it. So I really only have 2 books that are in consideration for the final book of the Readathon, and they are Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. This is the 3rd and final book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. It is really long, but I absolutely adore this series. It is so good. I have such a good time with it, and I'm always really invested in these books. And I also have The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. This was one of the books that he wrote during COVID that he did for the Kickstarter and came out during Year of Sanderson. This is the Waterstones edition of it, though. It's not the Kickstarter edition, but I've been told that this is reading it before Rhythm of War is a really good time to read this book, and so that is what I'm planning to do. So this would be a great pick as well. It is much shorter and much more reasonable. So here we have our 2 options, and I feel like the fact that it's already midnight, because I did watch a football game. It was really intense. And so I was not really reading during this football game. I was very much watching. So it's now midnight. I have a lot less time. And I feel like I might before have considered choosing this one as my read for the last one, because I love putting thick ones on as my final book of the readathon, but I am not going to be doing that. I just don't have time to read this book at this point. I would be staying up all night, and I don't really want to do that because these ones are extremely emotional. I cried so much during the last one. What is it? Fool's Quest. And my eyes are still tired from that because I just cried so much. So I don't think I should do that. Really emotional books, staying up all night reading them can be exhausting, and I'm already pretty tired. So the final book of the readathon is going to be The Sunlit Man. I'm really looking forward to this one. I hear there's a lot of Cosmere connections in here and things that you should really know before the 5th Stormlight book comes out. So yeah, here we go. We're going to be jumping in to The Sunlit Man, and I think I can definitely finish this one. It shouldn't be too hard. So I'm excited. This will be a lot of fun. Okay, so it is closing in on 5 o'clock. It's like 4:45. So this is the end of the readathon. And I have not necessarily been sick, but unwell today for the majority of the day. So I'm kind of shocked that I was able to finish The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. I am really glad that I chose this one instead of the Robin Hobb book, because I do not think there's any way I would have been able to finish that one. But I did end up finishing this one, and I'm really happy about that because that means I won the readathon. But also, I have now completed every book within the Cosmere, I believe. I do need to do my Rhythm of War read for this month, but yeah, I am prepared for the final book in the Stormlight Archive to come out at the beginning of December. So Sunlit Man is a standalone novel within the Cosmere, but in all reality, I mean, you can read it and technically understand what is going on within the story if this is the only one that you have read within the Cosmere, but I would definitely never recommend this book as a starting point. I would actually probably say this should be your final book that you read within the Cosmere of all of the books that are out so far, because this has so much connection to the Cosmere. This has so much information. We have a lot of characters that we'll see throughout the rest of the Cosmere, or if not characters, then at least peoples or organizations that we see throughout other books. So just keep that in mind. I would leave this one for later in your Cosmere journey for sure, including novellas and short stories. Just my recommendation. But I had a good time with this one. This is definitely not my favorite book within the Cosmere, and there was a lot going on here. There was a lot of scientific things here, and for me with fantasy, having sci-fi added in it kind of takes away from the magic of the fantasy for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that I won't like the story, but I don't feel the sinking in and living within the atmosphere of this magical world quite as strongly when it does have sci-fi aspects to it. So that's kind of something that I just is a preference of mine. I did enjoy following our main character. I'm not going to give any spoilers on stuff, but I found it very interesting. I liked learning more about this character's development and just kind of getting a whole book with them, where we haven't really had that in the past, even though they have been present before. We have seen them. I'll give you that much, but that's really not spoiler because there are so many books within the Cosmere. You don't know where I'm pulling from. I thought that the story was really fun. It was very fast paced. This is a lot of plot going on in this book. It definitely has a lot of character work and character development as well, but I would say that this book is probably more plot focused than a lot of his other books, even though I do think a lot of his books have great plots as well. But it was moving forward. You had a lot of conflict going on and a lot of different things happening, learning a ton throughout this book. So overall, I had a really good time with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think it would have been a little more pleasant to read it at a time when I felt a little bit better, but I still really liked it. I'm glad that I have finished this, and now I can read Rhythm of War in preparation for the final book coming out. And just, this was a great addition to this readathon. So that means I have finished and won the readathon. Here is my stack. It doesn't really look that big, but honestly, I feel like this was a lot of reading that I got in because this book took a lot out of me emotionally, plus it takes a while to read these books. So we had Dawnshard for a monthly TBR book. We had Fool's Quest for the book I was saving for last, The Coven for a buddy read, and The Sunlit Man for the final spot free pick. I feel like 4 is a pretty average number of books to get in this game. I don't tend to get less than that, but I found it's pretty common for 4 to be the number of books that I get, and I think that's a good number. I can do more than that, but like this is a comfortable number. I got through a lot of books here. 2 books were on my TBR. One was a buddy read I had to read. Another one was a book I need to read before I could read another book on my TBR. So these were all books that I needed to read within the month. And overall, I think this was a really successful readathon. I had a good time, but I was also able to like do other stuff throughout the readathon. So that was good. And it was like, reading wise, it was a good weekend. Feeling good wise, not so much, but I was still able to complete it, still able to win, and I like this stack. I think this is a great stack. These are all books, well, I guess besides The Coven, this one I just got, but the rest of them have like been on my TBR. And Sunlit Man, it's been like a year coming that I've meant to read it, and I'm really glad to be getting through the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. So this was a very like, I feel accomplished reading a lot of the books on this TBR. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the readathon, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.